Accept your death.
I went to the grocery store today, and I'm wearing this shirt that I got years ago at Walmart for like $4, and I only bought the shirt because the material looked comfy, and it is. It's a nice, comfy material, breathes easy, so it's a bit casual shirt for me to wear.
I can already tell this story's a big hit with the ladies.
It's it's going somewhere, I swear. So I get to the cashier, and she's like, "Yo, that's a sick shirt. I love that shirt. I'm a huge Donkey Kong fan." And it has a picture of Donkey Kong on it, and it says, "I'm a beast." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks. I got at Walmart for $4." And it kind of like made me salty because the amount of times I'll wear like a shirt I got at a tournament or something. Like I got that same one that MK Javier has with Scorpion, the long sleeve Scorpion one from Evo. And like I'll purposely like wear those to like the grocery store, but I can't wait for someone to compliment me on my shirt, and then I can go off about, going to MK tournaments and stuff. And it never happens. Never once has anyone said like, "Nice shirt" or something like that. I think at one point someone yelled at me in the parking lot like, "Finish him" or something, just like the most basic thing you could do. But I was just kind of salty that this shirt I didn't care about with a character that I have no like kind of interest in was the one.
To.
Yeah, it was the one that got complimented on. So
you're mad about that?
It really upset me. I wouldn't say mad, but like,
this is a good opener. Next time you see a lady across the bar or whatever, this is a good icebreaker. This is a good story. You bought a shirt for $4 at Walmart. It's got Donkey Kong on it. This is
right,
man. No,
don't get yourself a $4 Donkey Kong shirt if you want to get some people's attention.
Before we move on, I have a question for you.
Yeah, I have an answer.
What do you call bananas eating other bananas?
I feel like it's I don't know. Tell me.
Cannabanalism. I stole that from a TV show, but I thought that was funny. I thought you'd appreciate that. That's a dink joke.
That 100% is a dink joke. That's hilarious. It's not really like,
say that 10 times fast.
It's not like spooky season joke though, We are in the spooky season. Like, did you know?
Oh yeah. So a skeleton walks into a bar and says, "Barkeep, give me a beer and a mop." You see? Because he's, yeah.
I get it. Because he's...
Sorry, you were saying?
I was saying, did you know that I'm being haunted by a ghost chicken?
Oh, I like where this is going.
It's a poultrygeist.
Oh, I don't like that at all. I thought that was going to be way better.
Don't worry though, I hired an exorcist.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah, awful funny.
No, just awful. The regular kind.
The
regular vanilla awful in the traditional sense. The royal awful, or like however you want to describe it.
Oh my God! You know what's not awful though? The amount of people that comment this week.
Yeah.
You nailed it, hater.
All right.
We're getting right into it.
I'm noticing a pattern here. After all this time, what episode is it?
I can confirm that with you. We're actually approaching like the 6-month mark. Yeah, this will be episode 24.
Oh, okay.
2 weeks away, and we'll be doing this for half of a year. Isn't that crazy?
Every single week.
Every single week. We haven't missed a week.
Not to mention all the ones we did before it became like a consistent thing.
Yeah, the unofficial
there's lots
ones.
Of things floating out there.
Yeah, you search Bonehawk Podcast, you go way back in time. Way back in time when we talk about...
Yeah, you're back like trying to anticipate MK11 characters before it came out, and you'll hear me in there saying, "I hope Ashra is going to be in the game. Natara would be cool too."
Yep. You were a bit of a fortune teller there.
Well, I've just been, I've been wishing. Wish fulfilled.
Yeah, sometimes they come true. This time they did. So I think...
All right.
I think before I get into more thoughts, let me read this comment here. So we got Mark Good 4903 says the Elite Series 2 is the best controller, and I just wanted to give a little update. on this controller that I've been using.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored, just my opinion. As a consumer, if it was sponsored, I'd probably get fired because I want to say the default D-pad is actual dog shit. It is the worst D-pad I've ever used in my life. It's like, it feels like it's gonna fall off. Like whenever I press, it's just held on by like a magnet or something, I guess. So whenever I press like the up button, it feels like the bottom of it is coming off the controller. Like I don't know who does
flimsy. So like for a fighting game to where you rely on the D-pad a lot more than other games do, right? Other games, like your D-pad is used for navigating sub menus or things like that. Think about the way you use it like in Dark Souls or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or any other game. But yeah, for a D-pad heavy game, I imagine that design is not very good.
Yeah, it was the worst thing ever. I actually put it away until I got my secondary actual D-pad that feels very much like my PS5 like independent buttons D-pad that I used to use. And now this is my favorite controller ever. But that one change is important. So if you're going to use this pad for fighting games, do not even attempt to use that D-pad. It's hot garbage.
What pad are you using then in the end?
It is the Elite 2 Xbox controller. And then
Which is what this commenter was talking about, right? What was what you were just talking about with the bad D-pad?
So you can actually switch out the D-pad on this controller, and that's what I was talking about. So the default one that comes with it is certainly not made for fighting games. So I ordered a secondary one off of Amazon for like $10, and it came with another one of the same one. So I'm probably not going to even look at that. And then it came with just a traditional like cross D-pad, which I'm using, which feels fantastic. So, yeah, 10 out of 10.
I'm smelling what you're stepping in.
You're smelling what I'm stepping in. Good. We're on the right page. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an update on that. So, moving on. Next one here, we got Donkey Darko. I love reading these names. Ghostface's Animality. Ghostface opens his robe, and underneath is a monkey sitting on another monkey's shoulders because there's always two.
That's awesome. I love that.
I think that's actually hilarious, and monkeys can be terrifying, so I don't know what they would do.
I think that would be sick. And if it's not monkeys, like something else. The general idea of it being two small things, like one sitting on the other's shoulders or whatever, to be fucking Ghostface underneath the robe or whatever, just for the animality. Shit's funny.
Couple kids trying to get into an R-rated movie or something on a trench coat kind of idea.
Oh my gosh, Bernstein Bears.
Bernstein Bears, yeah.
Dude, what if it's like Chucky, and who's another, like Chucky and the Leprechaun, two other like little horror throwbacks or something.
That'd be cool. Or like Chucky and Jigsaw, like just sitting on top of each other.
Yeah, Chucky and Jigsaw.
That would be cool. Cool way to have. Well, I mean, people would probably be mad that they're just like thrown in there and not actual characters, but people be mad about anything anyway. So,
yep.
Who knows?
It's true. They're already mad. Get guests take up other slots.
Yeah, get your guests out of my Mortal Kombat.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
I mean, I get it. I get both sides of that. Guest characters bring eyes to the game that might not have played the game otherwise, so
I think those slots exist for guest characters, and if there was no guests, the slot just wouldn't even be there. It's like part of their marketing thing. So I just don't see the point in getting mad about it. You just kind of accept it. Like, I'm not really hyped for any of them, like any of the ones we've gotten so far or the ones for Combat Pack 2, but I'm not mad about it because it's just what's expected at this point,
Yep, it's predictable, so makes it easy. K Swiss H007. I love the Chaos Reigns update. Every character got mixed and is viable if you play them right. This game is slowly turning him into MKX Jr., and I'm all for it. I really like that comparison, actually, because I see a lot of people that have, especially when the game first came out, they're like, oh, this game sucks, it's nothing like MKX, blah, blah, blah. Because a lot of people didn't like MK11, and they skipped MK11 and waited and then tried MK1. And to me, this feels, I kind of share the sentiment that it does feel a lot like a toned down MKX, a fun MKX. It's not like there's mix, but it's not like mix into necessarily losing your health bar every time into, or another guessing situation into another mix. And if there is some of that, but it's resource heavy or it doesn't do as much damage. right? So I'm kind of really liking the how they went around doing kind of adding the mix to this game and ways to open people up. I don't know how does this comment resonate with you at all, Hater? You feel the same kind of way?
I know that I've been, working from home, working remotely like the last couple of weeks, and so I've just always got Twitch on in the background and going through the Mortal Kombat stuff and Rips and Honeybee and Tweety, Hayate, kind of like all of them. So uh I can definitely tell that there is a lot more character variety, especially in stuff like Rips, which is like really sweaty meta.
Right.
And just Farah is sprinkled in there, right? There's still Scorpion Farah and Homelander Farah and stuff, but for the most part, it's kind of all it took was making that low -12, right? I don't even think people cared about the health, but and even when it was like -10, but those extra couple negative frames they added on there, I feel people moved on to like some other ideas and some other teams and stuff. So just things like that. And I feel like I see a little bit of everything, except for Noob has kind of like disappeared. I don't know if you've like noticed, but I feel like I don't really see outside of like watching a streamer who's playing Noob. Don't really see him come up that much. Not like Sector and Cyrax and Havoc and you know
Yeah,
all that.
I'm seeing Havoc probably the most out of all of them. I see a little bit of Noob here and there sprinkled in Combat League, but I think probably Havoc is the one that I've seen the most, and a lot more Shujinko. But what makes me salty about that is no one's actually playing the cameo. They're just using him for the crumple. That's literally
But
it. Like,
that's what they do though, right? Just playing Cyrax for the horizontal copter chopper, or just playing
yep,
Striker for grenades, or just playing well, that's what like Farah gives you like a bunch of things to do when you want to do the just playing like sort of thing. Um, but yeah, it's the same idea. The crumple's just like that good, and everything else is like a cherry on top. But they don't need to risk putting them on cooldown to charge them up or anything like that. You get the and sometimes that's all people want or they feel like they need.
bandwagoners, all of them, get out of here.
I mean, it is kind of like flavor of the week stuff, the Havoc stuff especially. I wonder what they'll change, like if anything, but it definitely I feel like everybody is uh, uh, everybody's of like the mind that if you're out there saying, "No, leave him alone, don't touch him, leave him how he is," like you're out of your mind.
Right.
It needs at least some scaling on the unblockable again, maybe not as harsh as it was before, but for it to be completely unscaled in the EX version to ignore armor and it's at a spacing such that there's some very niche sort of cameo situations that can get you out of it, assuming they go for it right away and all of that stuff. It's just that part of it might be a little overtuned.
Yeah, we saw some of that last night in the Bonehawk League pilot with Koala repping Havoc and some funky stuff going on and some big like 100% life setups and stuff. And yeah, that apparently, yeah, if you can put a cameo on screen and they can actually take the hit of the tether for you, which is kind of interesting, especially with Shujinko, since I can literally just put him on screen and charge him, right? So I don't know.
Right.
That's might be some good kind of counterplay to that there. But yeah, I think out of all of them, still, I mean, Havoc is what I've seen the most. Probably Sector the least. People I see play Sector are probably like people who are like maining that character. And for whatever reason,
Right.
I thought Cyrax was going to be way more popular, but I'm not seeing her much at all. I don't know if that dropped off. Like I know there was that big reaction after the first week, and then last week we're like, okay, well maybe we take it off, and now I just don't see her at all.
Yeah, I think the honeymoon phase is over for the DLC. I've seen Noob drop off a lot. I've seen all three of them drop off a lot. I still probably see more Cyrex than any of them, like when it comes down to it. I mean, I follow a lot of fighting games, and I see in my, Street Fighter feed and Tekken feed, and it's always like, oh, thank God, it's like week 3 after the new DLC, and people are going back to their main. So now it's not like every single time in range, in ranked, I'm facing Bison or something.
Right.
Which is how we've been like the last, week or two. And it was just like we talked about before, like when Ermac, leading up to Ermac, and then when he came out, and he was just like literally everywhere for a solid week. And then just a huge plateau, like just cliff face.
Yep.
And that's just like what happens. Um,
I think that's happened
in
with
that
every
post
character.
DLC thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it happened with the only one that I don't remember it really happening with was Tremor when he came out. And I think part of that was just that he wasn't very good. and people like figured that out right away. And he's kind of not the easiest to use. So like, not being easy to use and not being good at the same time is kind of like meh. And like he stayed that way for a long time, and it wasn't until just before Chaos Reigns came out that we got, I think, what you called it, the quote unquote tremor patch, when it actually like adjusted all of his cooldowns and stuff like that and made him kind of more, I would say, usable. So I think he's good now, but he's the only one
He's
that,
definitely more available.
yeah, and that was definitely the problem. But he's the only one that I kind of like remember not really having a phase. I don't know if um that might sound
No,
familiar or not.
because because his cooldowns were like so long, he didn't have the opportunity. Bro never stood a chance. And the only reason you
No.
saw him is because he was like, hey, look, more than just Darius gives Reiko a combo off of his command grab. Like I feel like that's outside of like niche teams, and like people are like always so surprised to see Tremor outside of maybe a couple teams. And he was DLC, and all the other DLC are always like they're all cracked.
Yeah, they're just so
Um,
overpowered.
I was watching. Was it Catch Up Sector video. It was definitely Catch Up talking about Tremor and pointing out that if you use the neutral ambush, right, to switch variations, if you use that to body block and say like he blocks a projectile, it's only a 3-second cooldown instead of the normal 6-second cooldown that like say like Shujinko gets hit or something like that, right?
Right.
That's normally a 6-second cooldown. So Tremors is only 3 seconds. So you could actually use that as a part of your neutral and have him just tank things for you, like deliberately, especially if you play something like Sector and you're throwing out air grenades and other sorts of things, prevents trades and things like that. And then he's there to go into an ambush if you need him to,
He
right?
actually
Crystalline armor or whatever it may be.
he shares that trait with Shujinko. Actually, they changed that for him as well. Because when the game
Oh,
first came
that's
out,
cool.
yeah, Shujinko had that 6 second cooldown, and it was like, you're making me put this cameo on the screen to charge, but they
Right,
get hit, and then
right.
I can't use him for 6 seconds. So that was one of the first changes they made to Shujinko, actually. So they both
Okay.
kind of share that. Where Tremor is unique, though, is
He didn't say Shujinko, right? I said Shujinko. I was trying to think of a 6-second character.
and he said the only
I
one who
thought
isn't.
yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure. That might not be true. I don't know all the cameos. But the one thing it is unique to Tremor, if people didn't know this, is like you can still call him out and do that that change through without any cameo meter. He doesn't need cameo meter to do that. You can just call him out and change variations whenever you want. As long as he's not on cooldown, you can bring him out, get smacked. It's kind of cheap, to be honest.
I said this in like my Natara Frost sort of like discussion in a video that I made is I really like Natara and Frost together because like when I get a dive kick and I decide I'm going to call a Frost wall to do the dive kick knockdown, like basically the corner mid screen, the close up knockdown sort of
Right.
thing, it fits so naturally in that combo path. Like where I have to call the ambush is like right in the middle of the flow of the combo I'm already doing. And so many other ambushes, I feel like I'm trying to wedge it in there. Like I'm trying to make room for it, like in between other inputs that normally shouldn't have things in between them, right? Like
Right.
strings. Instead of doing a 1 2 3 string, you're doing 1 2 1 2 cameo 3 or whatever. And like with Tremor, you've got the call his variation and then the follow up move to get the ambush. So it's that one extra little thing to something that I already uh don't really like in general, and I think that's he's very fun to kind of like play around with in practice, but I don't really like using him in real matches. It's too much for my little brain, you know, too many inputs all kind of crammed into one short window. I don't really care for that.
Yeah, I have the same kind of opinion. My brain is all full up with Shujinko stuffs, and whenever I try and use other cameos, I'm just lost. He can do one thing that's kind of similar to Shujinko in that, like, you can do a string into the Tremor ambush, and like sometimes your opponent will like respect it, thinking he's going to do a move or something, but he just steal your turn back.
Doesn't
It
right,
just doesn't
right.
do
A
anything.
little bit of a mind game.
Yeah, so in the
And I really
matches,
like him as a character, right? I would love to have him aesthetically, like, you know, a part of like any team that I play. I think Tremor's a badass. He wouldn't be cramping my style the way that like Striker would or Kung Lao or something.
Striker. Yeah, Kung Lao. They're just dry characters. Sorry if you like those characters, but they're just not for me. Everyone has their things, their preferences, and everyone's
I
idea of cool
really
is different.
like Old Man Lao from MKX, the one with the Fu Manchu and like the graying hair and stuff like that. That Lao was a badass, but that's the only
Was
kind of like version of him I like.
was he in the story at all? I don't remember him being like. I only remember Revenant Lau being in the story. I haven't played that story in a long ass time though, so I don't even remember.
I don't remember either.
Someone can let us
But I
know in the
remember the
comments.
skin. I remember the skin.
I do remember the skin, and that's why I kind of remember agreeing with you, and that's why I remember thinking like, why didn't they put this in the story? But maybe I'm
I really liked
misremembering.
his Order of Darkness. Like I liked his little like outfit they gave him for that. Makes me want to play him. I feel like, have you heard anybody's opinions on the new Lao? Like they nerfed his armor but gave him the air projectile thing. Twitty was saying he still sucks. Like if you try to play Kung Lao in his current state in this current meta, then you just hate yourself. Like you're just trying to make your life way much harder than it needs to be.
I don't really know. Like that was his thing. Like if you wanted safe armor, you played Kung Lao. He had like a purpose and a thing, and it was useful. And then he got some combos off of cameos, like Movado and stuff. I'm really unsure of why they did that change. I don't remember anybody doing anything too crazy with him. Like Killer Shinnok was doing well in the pro leagues and stuff, but that was the only Kung Lao that I can really remember seeing outside of pools.
Well, I see a larger pattern. Do you remember like when they decided that Cetrion was way too strong, like her teleport and all of that bullshit? So they decided to make teleports cost 1 bar of defensive meter and even 2 bars if you wanted the full screen version. Scarlet was fine with it, right? But because Cetrion was so, they just changed all the teleports in the game to take defensive bar and kind of like gave it that.
Right.
So Scarlet kind of got nerfed at the same time. And I feel like that's kind of, they had an idea in mind. They're not picking on Kung Lao, maybe him like indirectly because he's part of this club of characters that has uh launching armor like the way that Tanya did. And so they kind of put behind Kung Lao, okay, if you want what you used to have, this is going to like fuck up your Goro timing and stuff like that. But you can still have your safe armor. It's just going to cost you an extra bar, which is what they also gave Sector, a brand new character. So that kind of like philosophy crosses over, as well as so Tanya doesn't get to spend the extra bar to extend hers, but she can spend her guidance charges instead. So hers is like a little bit unique. But those three characters, I feel like especially have that sort of like common, you know, thread with the way that their armor has been handled.
I see what you're saying.
And
I
just
see.
my observation. I don't know what their motivations are, and I don't know if there's any characters outside of those three. Those are just the ones that stood out to me.
Yeah, just trying to shake up the meta a little bit, and I don't know, not really nerf armor, I guess, but just kind of normalize it a little bit more. Tanya was really annoying to fight against, especially because of all the chip that move does too. I got chipped out a lot by it.
Dude, what was it? Combo Breaker, and it was Waz versus somebody else, and it was the Tanya Goro mirror, and all they did was that shit to each other back and
Yeah.
forth. It was like such a meme. Like, if I was Paulo watching that, I'd be like, nope. Like, that's the top of my, notes or whatever. They're like, well, you're gonna have to wait for the big patch for something like that. And he's like, okay, but man, I'm getting that shit out of here. Like the same thoughts he had when he that copter chopper after that first ECT when the game first came out.
Oh
He was like,
yeah.
nope. Like, no, 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 no. That is not okay. So, but you got to get it out to the masses and see what people do with your stuff. And like right now with Shujinko, is the crumple going to maybe get nerfed if they think that that's like too strong and that's the only thing people are using him for? You're using him for a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
but
I think a good if they to be honest, I think Shujinko's fine the way he is. Like if you want to give people a crumple, sure. Like I don't think that's broken in any sense of the word. It gives more people combo freedom to do other things. The damage can be pretty good off of it, but I don't think it's broken in any means. I think what's more broken is everything else Shujinko can do on top of having a crumple because he gets two
well, and it's not
launchers.
even you're right, but it might not even be a matter of whether it's broken or not, but this cameo is capable of more than just this one single thing. And so, because they, maybe that was part of the motivation behind things like grenades and Cyrax and things like that as well. So I don't know. Who knows what they're thinking? But I agree, it's not super broken. That damage is frustrating though.
It's really
Oh my
good. Because you get a
gosh.
launcher with your character, then you get a launcher with Shujinko, and then you get a crumple to extend it with Shujinko, and then you can use your ender. So it's like, yeah, but
Use your
it's
ender, use the hit advantage for setups, and then when you're a character like Havoc that's already hitting like a truck and already has an extra 100 health, you're giving him another 100 health, plus the extra damage from Shujinko. And man, that's crazy.
if I were to guess
It hurts.
based on what they've done with cameos in the past, I would say they're probably more likely to buff other things that he does than to nerf the crumple. Because that's kind of what they've done a little bit for other cameos. It's been like, hey, you're only using their grenades with Striker. Let's make these other moves better, or let's add in another move or
Right, we're
something
gonna
else.
make the cooldown, or yeah, increase its cooldown,
Yeah.
things like that.
So if I were to guess, but I don't really know what they would do outside of maybe changing his like how fast he charges or something like that. What would be cool is if after a fatal blow he was fully charged. Like I guess somehow during the fatal blow it charges him or something like that. That would be kind of cool. I think
That
that would
would be
be
kind of cool.
a neat
And
little
they do
buff.
things like that before. Like Baraka's got his little, he gets his little, bleed and chip damage buff,
Yep.
like after Fatal Blow.
So something like that would be kind of nice. But if they don't change him at all anymore, I would be totally fine. I think the whole Shujinko bandwagon thing will probably die off because there's other cameos that are probably just more fun to play if that's all you're going to use it for, you know?
At least people are trying, right? Every Shujinko you see out there is one less Pharah. If
That's true.
that's the train people are riding, right? Just kind of like exploring the meta and what people are doing. I saw Jay-Z's bottom lip go on a big rant about people mimicking things rather than understanding what's going on and being creative with it. You just kind of like try to, you watch a video or you see your favorite player do something, and so you play the same team, you do the things that they do, or to the best of your understanding, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but that's like the plateau. But there's a lot of people that play the game that way, and I think that's why you see a lot of that. But it's still like super varied. I think right now, definitely the best place it's ever been as far as like character and team variety
Oh yeah, I
out
100%
there.
agree. It's it's actually one of the most balanced NRS games that I can remember at this point in time, where like even like characters like Garrus, who talking to Brown Boy, he didn't really get what he needed, but he can still compete and he can still like you're not just like rolling over and giving somebody a game by picking him. So I mean, I don't know. I can't remember a time in history where there hasn't been like a super clear bottom tier character, Like if you were to ask me who the worst character in the game is, I have no idea anymore. I really don't know. Like I don't think it's Quan. I definitely
I
don't.
know I know a certain group of players that would be happy to nominate their character, but we won't. We won't go there. I was gonna say on the
Yeah.
Garrus that if you run into a Garrus in tournament or something like that, unless you have a homie that plays Garrus and you're used to like that matchup, they're just not really out there for like the XP. And he definitely has some trickery. He's got like I hear people complain a lot about his pokes and his neutral kind of suck, but he definitely has sauce, right?
And
Like he's
that's what the players were complaining about initially with Garrus, that his neutral was weak and all that kind of stuff. And now like they've given him a lot of things and he does a lot of things and he does them well, I think. I'm not the expert on Garrus, but from playing them, it seems like his neutral is quite a bit stronger than it was before. Maybe it's not
Yeah, I think that
exactly.
sandstorm is still kind of booty, right? That's more of like a combo thing, not like really like a neutral thing. It looks like it was given to him to maybe be sort of like not like a great projectile, but to be able to use it like in certain circumstances. And I don't think it's being used in any. Like it's just way too slow, like for what it is. I don't know what the consensus is. It's just what I've heard certain Gearuses complain about.
Yeah, I mean, as a Quan Shi player, I just throw that out on me all day. I got my standing 4, so I'll be just fine.
Right.
And then that combos into Shujinko Sandstorm, so GG's, shake my hand. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just really happy with the state of the game. Even my Combat League sessions that I've done have been very diverse in my opponent's characters, all over the map. Scorpion Fair, I would say SC is probably still pretty. That's probably one of the most annoying teams, I would guess, because off the back three, you can't do much about the low yet at that
Yeah,
range.
I've seen him in like top 5 discussions just because of her. Like he's like the prime example of the cameo system. You have to consider the cameo, and with Scorpion Farah is an S tier team, like a top team. But Scorpion with literally anybody else is like a B plus team or an A minus team,
Right.
probably, right? It's just the kind of way that that's worked out with it. And a big part, man, when they buffed back 3 and made that special cancelable,
That was huge. That was huge for him. He does not care about neutral. That is fuck neutral the character right there. Like, back three, teleports, all that kind of stuff.
I would
Unblockable stuff.
say, yeah, and listening to streamers and stuff like that this week, I feel like the characters they complain about the most and they feel like the most robbed from, besides some silly havoc, silly business that's going on, is Natara and Scorpion Farah. I feel like in particular, those are the two like worst offenders that people feel like, how why do you get so much off of, you know,
Yeah,
like how am I supposed to feel good about what transpired there? Because I mean, Natara, it made me feel really bad about being an Natara player. It makes me feel like, man, I will. It does kind of like bridge a gap of you can play her in a way that really punishes people that um are playing the game quote unquote right, like trying to like take their turn without even thinking about it, right? With like
yeah,
some of the dive kick type things, and that seems to be and then Natara Farah, of course. The other Nataras maybe not so much, but Natara Farah is just so much damage. Like any just
huge
dive kick,
damage
it just leads to so much damage.
and safety off her dive kick and all sorts of things. And like, get frustrated playing against her because I'm just use my like EX down back three little push away portal, and she's just like, oh, that's adorable, and just floats right over it and dive kicks me in the face.
Yep.
Like, oh, glad I spent a bar meter on that. Thanks.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty fun matchup in my opinion. I don't use Farah, but just like using her and trying to like navigate neutral, like approaching on the ground or using dashes to try to get around things, and it's pretty funny when you get super high, like get so high that I'm above those over, like when you have the portal out, the overhead projectile. When you're
Right.
like when I'm even like above those, and
Yeah, that's
dude,
annoying.
dude, that stand for recovery is like so bad.
Yeah, you can full screen
That
run
is
in and
just like
dive kick.
yeah, full screen. If I happen to be like jumping forward when you did a standing forward, which would make it whiff, that's just a dive kick into
50% easy.
yeah.
More so on Quan because he's low health. Well, my
Well,
new
not. Well, yeah, I could like if I don't spend any extra resources, my just like a little stray dive kick like B&B or whatever, it's like 380 damage or something. But it's just like a meterless thing, just for
because I happened to whiff a
whatever. You
move.
could easily push that into, especially with Farah. Jesus Christ. Anyway,
Yeah, big
you
damage.
seen any Sonya? Any new Sonya cameo? People rocking the dive kick?
Yes, I've seen a little bit of it. Not too much, but I've seen a little bit of it in my travels, and it's I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good on the
With what
cooldown of
teams?
it. I did see a Havoc Sonya, which was
Okay.
interesting because I think they were doing like, I don't even know if it's a dive kick, whatever that kick Havoc does into Sonya, those types of things. That was kind of interesting. I haven't really seen much else. I don't think I've seen a couple Havoc Sonyas actually, and I don't know what else that character does. I guess she would give him some extra mix off of her overhead, plus unblocked overhead.
Anytime that he's in the air and he's able to special cancel, so it's a summon, right? So it can't quite work like Farah. They have to be able to, unless it's done raw, like in neutral. So anything that kind of like leaves people up in the air and it's an overhead and it's safe on block, and combos or can be held for bigger combo. Like the second half of that, the bicycle kick up is like ambush mode, kind of like her charge projectile, where you're just moving around. So
Right.
Sector can get like a sidewinder and then jump in for a 2-1-2 off of like the bicycle kick portion if you just like let her rip. And Sector's always in the air, not to mention forward three. I saw Poseidon playing Reptile Sonya, and that is mean. Oh,
I could
because
imagine.
Reptile's always off there. There's so many, like you don't even realize how often he's able to do that. I felt like he was getting it off everything, and It's good control and it's safe on block and an overhead. I think it can be up blocked.
Oh,
But
can it? Oh,
I don't know. I've heard people talk about it. It's never been done to me. I haven't played it a lot, and I haven't like really labbed it too extensively.
I should lab it and see, because that would be good counterplay to it if you can do it in the air. I actually that's a good kind of transition point for me, because I wanted to ask you a question. You've been saying that you've watched a lot of streamers this week, and I remember talking to Ketchup at Evo, and he was saying that the meta in overseas in Europe is like completely different than in North America. And I'm wondering if you've noticed, like watching, say, like Rips or anything, if you see things in there that you don't necessarily see in more like Northern American streamers kind of idea.
Yes, but there are like North American people that compete in rips and stuff. But I think that it is a different meta, and I think people just like it is like in like South America and stuff like that, right? Every time Chile or Argentina or anything is like involved, it's like I didn't even know this team was like even a thing.
Right.
Uh, I can't think of like a contrast like to give you like an A and B as like a good example. Um, because I feel like they do. There is like a meta here as well, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I remember at Evo I was watching a lot of the South American players in pools and whatnot, and Ashra is definitely a character that they used a lot more than in what's used in North America. Like by quite a bit. I think almost all of them had a pocket Ashra at some point. So
I agree. She was everywhere.
yeah, it was cool to see. And then like Gee Exceptional winning the last entry or whatever it was. Man, that was something
Mm.
that's so cool about like that pro league, is like just seeing all the representation and all the different metas and all the different characters from all across the globe. That was, even though it wasn't as big as I think they kind of hoped for, it was still like really entertaining to watch. I would like to see them do another one, but I totally understand if they don't, because it definitely was not as successful as previous entries, pro leagues kind of idea.
No.
I
Yeah,
think
we haven't heard anything yet, unfortunately. I wonder if it's ever coming.
I
Did
would be
WB abandon us?
surprised. Yeah, I would be surprised if they spent money on that. But I mean, Boone did ask about like kind of crowdfunding something and got some good responses. So like maybe
So maybe not now. Maybe they're cooking something, but it's going to take time.
I'd be all for that.
Back to that Osher thing and talking about different metas and stuff. And you, so this is an interesting thought exercise or whatever, right? If you think about Ashra in the first couple weeks of the game, and you that the tier list that people were making, and she was always like in the top discussion, uh,
Right.
like always S tier character, and her armor, and her neutral, and her punishment, and all of that sort of stuff. And she was top for like a long time. Always considered like one of the best characters in the game. I feel like all the recent stuff, especially after Chaos Reigns, like she's like a solid she's like hanging out with like Melina and Baraka and stuff like that on like the solid like A tier, higher end of like A tier and stuff now. And I think that's a good and nothing's changed with her, right? They haven't buffed her or nerfed her outside of like universal things and bug fixes and graphical things, but I don't think any of her frame data has changed or anything like that. All it's done is other characters have obviously changed, but you know, people's thoughts about the game, uh, meta evolves and all of that sort of stuff. So it's cool to see everyone kind of like there's so many characters that etched up above her, kind of dethroned her, and nothing changed with her at all. It's all just a consequence of what's happened to other characters.
She feels like the main roster equivalent of Serena to me. There is nothing wrong with her. She does what she does very well, and there's no reason to change her. You know, outside
And they
of,
go really well together. It's like by design,
which is
right?
really
They're both
funny.
demon ladies. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like lore appropriate as well. So it's like
Yeah.
it's funny
So
that
it seems really deliberate. Like Johnny and Sonya would seem like a really deliberate team. Like they would be thinking about synergy with that team specifically, and then other things are just happy consequences.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's I don't know if they didn't design it. It's a funny coincidence that it happened that way. But yeah, I think that, and I don't really intend to see her be changed at all. I don't think she needs anything. I think there's still a lot of potential in her hell stance that people aren't using yet. But I mean, I shouldn't say people aren't using. People are starting to use that more now than I have seen in the past because I think it's really good, honestly.
It's the funnest part about her. Like, if people like to turtle and they like to play defensively and they like to whiff punish and stuff like that, then yeah, heaven stance all day and that projectile combined with that forward too, if you want that sort of game plan. But if you want to get a little wild and you want to try to, you want to shimmy and you want to try to like pressure like in a different sort of way, and I think hell mode is very fun.
A little bit of extra damage, a couple extra launchers, right? A couple things launched that
It's
don't
like
usually
getting on the
launch.
freeway after driving on the surface roads. And then when it runs out, it's like, when you get off the freeway and you've been doing, 70 miles per hour, and now you're forced down to 35, but it feels like 7 because,
I know
while your
what, yeah,
body's like acclimating back. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, that's
So that's how it feels, in my opinion.
7, 7, 7 kilometers an hour. You know how?
Oh yeah, you use kilometers up there in Canada, don't you?
Well, yeah, you guys down there, you smile, but up here we skilometer. Oh man, the jokes today. Shiro told me that one earlier today. Actually, that's not my own bit. That's not my own. I stole it, but it's very very funny. So there, you shared it with y'all.
Thanks for sharing, Dink.
Hey,
And
share the wealth.
that's another icebreaker, that you could use when you're out, like in a social sort of thing.
I could, and I will actually. Not that I do much social stuff, but I work a social-ish job, so that's as much society that I can get in one day. Let me tell you.
Yeah, working sucks.
Working does suck. Working for the man every day. You had an interesting thing that you brought up with Rips Arena, and what is it like? I'm trying to find where 3 teams or something like that.
Oh yeah, so that's why I think it was like on Friday, and I was like, we should talk about this. So they did like a special top 8 sort of thing to where they were forced off the character every single game, win or lose, with no repeats. So you kind of like have to think about like, so 3 characters if you 3-0, 5 characters if it goes to 5 games. So you have to be like really deliberate, like really think about your opponent's choices and stuff too. Like if you know like who they play and stuff. So I was wondering where like I think some of your picks are obvious, like Sindel and Quan and Sector, but I don't know if I could go out to 5, like if I was to guess for you, or what order like you would put Quan. I'm guessing it would, maybe depend on how strong or not, the set started. But what do you think about that in general? Like what's your thought process?
So let me just make sure that I understand the assignment here. So there's no repeating whether you win or lose, right? Every game you have to switch.
Every game you're required to switch.
And is it character and cameo, or are you allowed to repeat the
I think it's
cameo?
just character. I think they just did character. I actually asked and I didn't get an answer, but then the chat's just so big and flurry, and maybe I like missed something. And I
Right.
didn't. I just the cameo roster seems so much more, like so much smaller that might be.
That's
Let's
true.
regardless of what they did, let's say the cameo is fine, right? Maybe no repeats. No choosing Shujinko twice in a row.
I was gonna say because if it's no repeats, I'm just picking my Shujinkydink characters. um, but going out to 5 is a little bit of a struggle, I think.
Well, let's talk about 3, right? Let's just say that you think that you're going to 3-0, and then once we get there, we'll see about 4 and 5, maybe.
So characters, I think I would go Quan. No, I think first. Man, this is a lot harder than I thought it would. Thought it would be. I was gonna say because I was gonna see what my opponent picks, but my opponent's character isn't gonna be the same next match anyway. So I feel like Sindel, Scorpion, and Sector. Like if I had to pick 3, I'm honestly not sure I'd put Quan in there because he's just not well rounded enough, and the other because you don't know what's coming at you. The other 3
So
would be
he'd be
able to
like a
handle.
game 4 character, maybe. So let's say you lost one of those, and so now we're on game 4, and now you need a 4th character.
Yeah, I mean, Quan would be Shang though. No, I think because my expertise with Quan is better, I would put Quan as
All
fourth,
right.
and then
And
Shang as
then
fifth.
it's Shang is your fifth. The very last thing, what you'd bet the entire thing on Shang
I'd
and
have
not
to.
Sindel.
I, man, that's a good strategy point too. Maybe I put
That's what I'm saying. I thought it was interesting,
this.
right?
Is
That
this
was a
is
pretty cool
interesting.
setup.
That is.
Welcome back, Rips, by the way. He started streaming again this week out of the hospital. So
Hell yeah, we love to hear it.
that resumed the daily streams. So that's been cool to see.
Yeah, that's been super sick. I'm super happy to see that. I missed his voice. I saw him live the other day. I wasn't able to chill out for very long, but it was just cool to see him back. Now, if we were to take that experiment a little bit further and go with no repeating cameos, that's where I would really have a tough time because I don't play a lot of cameos. I played.
So I might. So let's say it was you versus me. So let's do a hypothetical here. So it's the very first match, and you see me hover in Natara, and my cameo is going to be Frost. Who are you putting up against me?
I think I would start with Shang and Shujinko. I think.
No repeating cameos in
I
this
know.
scenario, like
I
you were just saying.
know.
Okay, so Shang and Shujinko's who you'd start with.
Yeah, because I don't actually think I've played another cameo with Shang now that I think about it, so I wouldn't really know what to do. But yeah, well, I mean the same with Sector too. So I mean, but Sector is good enough on her own that I could just throw something in there. Like I know Quan and Motaro would be one because that's really the only way I know how to use Motaro, and I think that's good for Quan. So I still think that
And you know me just from our history, right, and being around the Discord and all that stuff. I am quite comfortable in both the Quan and the Shang. Like I get
yeah,
outplayed and shit like that, right? But I know the matchup. I've played it a lot, and Natara is harder to zone than people think. If you think that she's like really easy to control, even though you have projectiles, you have another. You
yeah.
need more exposure, right? Especially with Frost because it's so with Shang, especially. I feel like it's easy to trade with, like find holes to trade with ice carpet.
Oh yeah, 100%. Not to
So
mention the wall. You can just put up the wall, and then how am I supposed to run away? Like I literally can't move. So
right,
yeah, I think I'd probably use Shang Shujinko on that one.
okay.
And then the next match.
Okay, so the next match, let's just pretend this goes 5 games. We don't need to say who wins or loses or whatever, just to move on. So this is going to get spread out to like five times. So the next match, we're both forced on to new teams, and I'm gonna go with Ashra. You're gonna fight
Ashra.
at my Ashra Movado.
Okay, I think that aspect I would go Quan Chi Motaro if I'm the counter picker in that scenario, and I think I'd feel comfortable.
See, and if you chose
that.
Quan Chi Motaro, I would probably go Melina Sector.
I know, that's why I picked him.
Right. Okay. So let's say I committed. Right. I'm just locked in. Okay. So Ashra Movado.
All right.
Versus Quan Motaro. Okay. So what's next?
So okay, so this next one here, I guess I'll go first, and then you can counterpick me. I am going to use Sector and Sonya because Sonya is simple enough for me that I can throw into Sector and helps out my zoning. I'm already in right now in this moment mentally checking off what I want to do. I've never actually played it, so it would be interesting if we actually posted a set of us doing this to see how it went. That could
My gosh.
could be chaotic.
Yeah, comment below if you want to see this clusterfuck. But yeah, that would be
something.
That would be fun. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would go Melina Sector for that.
Okay.
I think. I feel like my own Sector rocket is kind of good to kind of make you think about what you're doing in your movement, and it's an ambush, so it doesn't really, as long as he doesn't get hit when the rocket's on the way up. But I feel like so many times sectors are kind of like reading forward movement, so they do the mid projectile, but I didn't do anything, and so it completely whiffed. So now I've got all these frames, right? Especially if I'm like expecting like something like that,
Right.
and I feel like finding little holes and opportunities to do things. It's not super oppressive. I don't think her zoning is super oppressive. It can be like when people get into the zone, like the flow and stuff. I'm talking more just about sector in general, I guess
Right.
now, not our little experiment here. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know.
You
That
not
could
afraid of that Melina hoe?
no, and I hit pretty hard too, so I I can punish if when you give me that inevitable punish off of something, I'm ready for it. Um, and she
How
actually has
much
a.
damage you're gonna do to me with a sector Sonya?
I'm gonna guess just shy of 400, 380 probably. That's what I'm thinking with one bar. And I got sneaky ways of doing that too, like my forward three, and then you use the little Sonya dive kick. Overhead, low. What? I'm already committing to the forward three. You know?
I know. I showed you all that.
Yeah, I
I
know.
like you have the low out of that. You have the plus frames from that. You have the air thrusters into a jump in into the dive kick again or jail into like the back three. That shit is mad annoying to deal with. But I don't know. I don't start getting. I'm not sweating until someone breaks 400. I don't know
Right.
what it is in my brain that triggers it. Right, but as soon as that number flips to 4, then I'm like, man, that fucking sucks. Sucks to get hit by that.
You're
But
not
before
wrong.
then, it's like, whatever. It's like part of the back and forth. You just kind of like you take it on the chin sometimes, and just try not to be sloppy again. Uh, so now we're on game 4. Now I'm
Yeah.
thinking about like, who am I gonna play? Now I'm actually gonna play Sector, and I can't use Frost, because I already used it in the Tara matchup, so I'm gonna use Sonya.
Okay. Okay. So you're just
Otherwise, I'd use Frost. I like that team a lot. Sector Frost is super fun.
so that's interesting. So I played Sector Sonya last time, and then now you're gonna play Sector Sonya this time. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I could have chosen Sonya with Natara as well, but I like, that's like my main team, I would say right now, Natara Frost. I can't split them up.
That's fair. That's fair.
I was
Um,
gonna say it'd be like you splitting up Quan and Shujinko, but you already did Quan Motaro, so that wouldn't
I did.
that wouldn't make
I
much
did.
sense.
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be full degenerate here and go Scorpion Farah because I
Scorpion Farah, do you have any experience with that?
just
Like, have you
practice,
played it?
just in
Just
practice mode.
practice?
Yeah,
Okay,
but
I'm
I
not
mean
afraid. Who am I playing, Sector?
Sector
Oh, that
Sonya.
fucking teleport.
Yeah, you see where my mindset's going now?
I'm wondering if forward 3, I bet forward 3 crushes back 3.
That wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise you, to be honest.
Sector's forward 3 goes over Noob's Wake Up and Sub-Zero's Wake Up.
Really?
And, yeah. Side note, Noob Saibot, like, that is a very polarizing armor move because it's so good in certain aspects, but it's really fucking bad. Like in others, like if you try to armor out of a frost orb setup, you're frozen. You try to armor out of a sector rocket setup, like something I'd normally do, you're fucking toast. Even if the armor hits me, the rocket's gonna hit you in recovery, and a lot of characters can block before that happens if they beat it with armor or they avoid the rocket. So his defense kind of booty. Um,
A little bit. A little bit. Offense is good though.
yeah, he's annoying. He's my nemesis right now. That son of a bitch.
That son of a
Anyway,
bitch.
what were we talking? Okay, so Sector Sonya versus
Scorpion Farah.
Scorpion Farah. Gross. Okay,
Yeah.
but okay, so we made it to game 5. Fifth string character.
Fifth string character is an absolute YOLO pick from me. Sindel Lau. That's the meta team
And
for her. I've never even practiced it, but I'm pretty sure I know what you're supposed to do.
it's just a matter of timing.
Yeah, like
Right, you know what to do. That's why I would never like bringing him in with Melina and stuff because I've seen people set it up a million times, but I don't know the nuance, like the exact timings and things like that. And
Yeah, and then Sindel, like on her own, she's just her damage is fine, her strings are fine. She's got good neutral. She's just a strong character. Lao is just a little cherry on top. That if I want to use it, cool, but I'd probably be playing it more than Sindel than I would for the cameo at this point in the set.
All right. I'm going to go for a little YOLO pick for me anyway as well. And my fifth is going to be thinking about the roster, right? And since I've already used Frost, there's like some characters I've only like used her with, and I kind of,
Yeah.
know that I like them, but haven't messed with like others. I'm actually torn between two, but I'm going to say Sub-Zero Serena is going to be my game 5 pick.
Oh, that's a good one. I remember you playing that at the start of the game. So I don't know if you continued on. I can't remember, but you playing Sub-Zero a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of sub. Like he's not super crispy, but I might get by. And I know him as a Serena team, like that, just the basics, nothing super crazy.
Yeah, I mean
And
that's
then I can always just say the character's bad when you beat me in game 5. And I had to resort to sub, and the character sucked. So what
yeah.
was I to do?
I don't have a dog in that fight playing Sindel. So Sindel sucks, man. Bottom tier.
I would actually probably try Kung Lao before Sub-Zero.
Oh
Or maybe
yeah.
even Sindel myself. Oh, we would Sindel mirror match. I have a
Yo,
Sindel.
do you? I don't think I've ever seen you
Yeah,
play Sindel.
I'm on Sindel. She was my very first after Ashra. So I started the game
Interesting.
on Ashra for the first couple days, then I moved on to Sindel, and that was like my first week of the game, and then I went to Melina. So I have like, you know, I have a little bit of a game plan, and I know my B and Bs and stuff, and I'll just do that with Serena, right? So just plug and play.
Yeah,
Serena's just kind of like one of those. Like not the strongest team, but I'd make it work. And I'm trying to think of another cameo I would use. Um,
I kind of
I
forgot
don't know.
about
I don't.
Serena, to be honest. I would probably throw her in again, other than Lao, to be TBH. Now that I think about it.
Oh, so now Serena, Sindel Serena mirror match. Wow, that would be a clusterfuck if we turn this into a real thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
Okay, I'm gonna take back my pick. You take Sindel Serena,
Okay.
and I'm gonna take bro. I'm gonna take Baraka Kano.
Oh, what? You have a Baraka? I guess he's not that complicated.
You'll maybe one day you'll find out.
If you've made it this far and you want to see it, let us know. We'll act it out. See who wins the set. That's actually an exciting idea. It's kind of fun.
Baraka Sub-Zero.
Baraka.
Fucking Sindel Serena. Why am I going in there with Baraka Kano?
I was gonna say that's like the classic. Like I lost the first game.
Yeah. I don't know.
That was a fun thought experiment. That took a lot more oomph of my brain than I really thought it was going to.
Yeah, I tried to mix up, like start with like one of my strongest, then maybe not, and then back to my other strongest, and then something that was equivalent to like the second one, and then I'm already spread too thin trying to play, you know, just a small handful of characters. I can't imagine having 5 like crispy high level characters.
No, God no. And like I often like well, if I'm playing a secondary character, like try and do the amount of times I tried to do standing 4 with Sector is just embarrassing. My brain just gets too confused in those situations.
Yep. And when I down back 4 in the air when I'm playing Melina, I get that air roll because it's like my dive kick, and it's like you see something whiff, you dive kick.
Oh yeah,
right?
that really sucks.
That air roll is definitely not so you whiff, and then I whiff, and then I get punished, and it's just like that muscle. You just got to try to keep it in check, and it helps. I feel like it helps playing distinct teams, so I don't have any additional. It helps me compartmentalize a lot more uh, if I'm not repeating cameos across my team. So even though I said I like to play Frost with a bunch of teams or whatever, she's kind of just the shoe in until I figure something else out, like the starting point, like
Yeah.
something like that. But yeah,
Cool. Well, that was a good way to finish out the podcast this week. I'm sorry there wasn't much in like current events in Mortal Kombat world to talk about this week, but You just throw Mortal Kombat on there. We went all over the place, going back to MKX, MK11, talking about rips, all that kind of stuff. So made it work.
Yeah, just chilling and chumming about just the game in general. Just talking shop with
Talking
no real
shop.
agenda.
Yeah, I love it. Off the cuff.
I'm I never miss an opportunity to express my displeasure with the game, and I feel like even I'm relatively happy as I can be, right? I'm happier than I have ever been with the game.
Yeah, we need more positive
It's definitely
podcasts
not
out there.
perfect.
There's too many
Yeah.
podcasts of people just shitting on the game for however long. We try not to focus on that, but be critical, but like not, super negative and Debbie Downers about it, unless there's something we really don't like. I mean, it's nothing. If you've made it to this far
Yeah,
in the
just
podcast,
don't need to get
you know
hung
how it
up
works.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't like to spend the, I don't know. It's just bad vibes. Even if I feel like it's right, it's just kind of like bad vibes, and we want to have good vibes, right? So,
Yeah, chill and positivity make you feel good at the end of the day. So,
something like that.
that being said, thanks again for listening for another week. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a like because it really helps me out. And subscribe if you haven't, because I make new videos almost every single day. Hashtag Bonehawks, all that stuff, and we'll see all you Bonehawks in the next video.
Accept your death.